So I told everyone this is your first trip here after 9.5 years. And on your behalf, I said how happy you are to be here, and I'm going to leave a lot of that to you. I think for all of us here, after The Sixth Sense, I think there was an entire new wave. It set a completely new benchmark in cinema, a completely new benchmark in a genre, and in a way stories are visualized and told, not just in the United States, but I think almost everywhere in the world. After the third movie of night that I saw, this is something I've not really shared with him, and that was right after watching The Village. You know, I kind of said, we're starting to look at movies here, and we should be wanting to do something with. And so at that stage, I did send a mail, and I sent 2 or 3 mails at that time, which after about 3 months I got hold of Knight's address. But of course at that time I didn't get any response or reply from Knight. Got to almost 5, 7, 8 years later, and about 8 or 9 months back, I think we had through a common friend, colleague, and work advisory, we had a very, very interesting telephone conversation where he shared the first thoughts on the script and the story of The Happening, which completely and totally enthralled us and excited us. Coincidentally, a week later, I think we met up in Philadelphia. And from then to now, the entire movie's been made. We have some fantastic partnerships with 20th Century Fox and Spyglass. And we're here. So I think that's the brief intro from my point of view. And I'll leave it to Knight to share some of his experiences, past, present, future, specifically on The Happening. And then we'll be open for some Q&As.
Thanks for having me here. Yeah, it was. We met in Philadelphia. You were just traveling past us, right? And we said, could you come? And we all met for breakfast. I had my girls there, and to see how he reacted to the girls. They're the real litmus test to see if he's a good guy or not. And, they all loved him, and we were eating our pancakes. And, it was a good thing. And I gave him the script at that point. I told him about it, and he called up after he read it and said, "Let's do it." It was a fun beginning to our relationship. It was something that, and I talked to my agents about. We were talking about, hey, on this next one, we'll go in. Let's go in with the financier, and we'll go sell the movie together as a package. And they said, "Oh, we got this Indian guy." And I was like, "Oh, no, it doesn't have to be an Indian guy." It was like first day, the new agents, they were, "There's an Indian guy," and they said, "You really like him." And then he told me all about his company and everything like that. And I said, "This might be a wonderful way to connect again with India, which obviously I haven't had a lot of opportunities to do over there." And I believe when you're financing a movie, that's just like when I'm picking the cinematographer or the editor, you're picking a personality that will influence the movie. And so you should have feel good about that person and their company and where they're coming from. And it felt really good to join up with Ronnie and his crew and have some connection. And now we're here. This is such a great moment to do that. And so this is very exciting. He said, "Would you come to India when we open the movie?" I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." And then also this wonderful thing happened with this award. So it all kind of all came together this week.
Okay, but I think pretty much large contingency here. I'd like to just sort of hear a little bit about, we haven't been in this country for 10 years, we've been sort of watching the space and the movies that you're in, just part of your experiences of the past and a little bit on The Happening.
Okay. Well, I went to NYU Film School, which is a big disappointment for my Indian parents, who they were supposed to be here somewhere. You could have asked them how disappointed they were. And it turned out well. We made my first little movie here in India, actually, in '91 or '92. And no one went and saw that. It was like my family and a couple other strangers that went into the wrong theater. And then I was lucky enough to get a second opportunity. You get very lucky to make one. You get your chance. But I had a second opportunity with Wide Awake, which was a screenplay that I wrote and I sold to Miramax at the time. And Harvey Weinstein bought it, and I made that movie there, which it was I couldn't tell what movie I was making. I was having a little bit of a tough time trying to make it work. Was I making an art movie? Was I making a commercial movie? I didn't really understand what I was making. And I made that movie, and no one went to see that movie. And I was like, 2 strikes, you're out. That's it. It's over. You know, how many people get 2 chances? And I failed twice. So this was definitely not going to happen again. And I sat down and I said, what am I doing wrong? I mean, I'm putting enough love, I'm putting all the effort in that I can. What am I doing wrong here? And I looked up at my wall and I had, you know, all these movies on my wall, The Exorcist and, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark and all these, you know, famous movies that I grew up loving. And I said, well, let me just stop pretending I'm some art filmmaker and trying to be something, you know, that I'm not. And I said, let me just make one of these movies. And so I wrote The Sixth Sense, which is the next movie I wrote. Luckily, I got an opportunity to make that movie for Disney. And it's just all, you know, it's one of those things. It was, you know, it was meant not to be a big movie. It was supposed to be dumped into a certain area of the year in September. And, you know, at that time, it was, you know, Bruce was not that big at that time, and horror movies were, you know, they go straight to video. They weren't really a big thing. I wasn't, you know, it was a small little movie from a filmmaker that had, you know, failed nicely twice. So my hopes for it were very small. And then when it opened, you know, I remember opening day, I was writing Unbreakable, and opening day, and I said, whatever happens, I'm just going to try to get another movie made. Let's as quickly as possible before everybody stops giving me chances to make movies. And on opening day, I read the New York Times review, which was terrible, and just tore me up again. And I was like, this is the same guy. This guy at the New York Times just hated me. And ever since I was little, he just reviewed me and hated me. And he reviewed me again and hated me, and I just closed it, and I thought, here we go again. Let me just try to get this other movie, Unbreakable, made. And then Bruce Willis actually called me on Saturday morning. He said, we're #1. I was like, you gotta be getting the wrong information, because I thought I had heard we didn't do so well, but that was the first kind of rumors of that night. And then we got #1 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then the Sunday didn't drop at all, really, and they were like, that's really unusual. And then every weekend, for 6 weekends, I kept getting a call, you're #1, you're #1. And just on a little note, that was the last movie to win. Well, since from Titanic till now, only 3 movies have had #1 in their fifth weeks and 6th week, that kind of thing. And one was Titanic, then The Sixth Sense, and the other one was Signs, which was really cool. Kind of, you know, the longevity of a movie is a kind of a tale of how it's seeping into the people. So then I immediately had a script ready, so we made Unbreakable after that. And I guess a lot of, you know, how people perceive you is always on the first thing when they get to know you. Whatever song you sang, whatever, you know, whatever painting you painted that first became famous, that's what you do. That's it. That's what you do. And then, so Unbreakable was kind of, you know, my kind of drama take on the comic book genre. And at the time, no one was making comic book movies. Now, this weekend, a comic book movie made $100 million. But back then, it was comic book movies were, that's a really dicey thing, just like horror movies were. Don't do that. And we made Unbreakable, and we had a wonderful time making that movie. But it was kind of, what is this kind of thing? They were like, oh, did you make a ghost movie? No, it wasn't. They even tried to sell it as a ghost movie at that time. That was before I actually said, sell them as they are. But Unbreakable came and went. It was such a wonderful experience for all of us. Second time with Bruce. And then I made Signs with Mel Gibson, and that one was the quickest writing experience. Signs, Sixth Sense, and Unbreakable were torturous. They just took, you know, so many drafts, and I just couldn't get it right. It took forever. Signs came out like just as it was on the screen, just came out like that. That hasn't happened since. I've been waiting for it to happen again. Very fun shoot, and did really well. All the movies have started to have a little bit of now spirituality about them. Like it wasn't an agenda, just kind of had a kind of an emotionality and spirituality about them. And then so after Signs, I did The Village, which is kind of I was very into Wuthering Heights. I was offered by Tom Rothman actually from Fox to do Wuthering Heights, the movie. So it was on my mind a lot. I was rereading and thinking about it, whether to do that or not. And I think all that thinking about period pieces and all started me thinking about The Village, and The Village, and for me that was the first time I got to work with Bryce, which was such a wonderful experience, because I've had, in my life I've had two of those acting experiences where people just do something phenomenal. You just can't believe what they're doing. One was Haley in The Sixth Sense, and then the other one was Bryce in The Village, where you just were seeing something transcendent. and the village, went on to become #1 in all the countries except Japan. I think I was telling you this morning, we opened up against a Japanese video game. That was the only movie we didn't open #1 to. And then I did Lady in the Water right after that, which was a story for my children that I wrote. I wanted it to kind of feel like, I don't know if you guys seen The Princess Bride and Edward Scissorhands, that kind of offbeat kind of fantasy that has its own language and everyone's speaking in its own way. Very different kind of movies. And then after, I'd spent 2 years making basically, a certain type of movie, and then you kind of always have a feeling of doing something different, something that...
We're opening on June 13th, Friday 13th, so that brings us, that's the fast version. There was lots of ups and downs along the way, but that's where we're at now. The Last Airbender, which is a movie I'm doing for Paramount. And it's actually a fantasy. It's based on a Japanese anime series that has a lot of Hindu and Buddhist philosophies in it, and kind of has everything that I've been interested in doing. I've been toying with doing a fantasy franchise like Harry Potter or Chronicles of Narnia. Those were all offers. Unbelievably unique for us. It's in the Western world. It's become a phenomenon over there, but it's all based on Hindu stuff. There's a whole guru in the second season. Teaches about chakras. All the kids in school now are talking about chakras. And so that's what I'm doing next for Paramount.